Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2, the rematch is now official for the main event of UFC 257 on January 23rd, and I can't wait for this rematch. I feel like we've been waiting for this to be signed for the longest time now, and it feels so good to have pen on paper, contract signed. We know the fight's going to take place in January, and I'm looking forward to it. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys my early prediction of the fight, see what I think about the matchup. Also going to tell you guys what's next for the lightweight division. Of course, this fight is not for the belt, which is very important information because that's something else I've been wondering for the past month since this fight's been in negotiations. But still, we know it's not for the belt. I'll tell you guys what I think should be next for the lightweight division, and also give you guys a UFC 257 card that I'll build as well, that I already have made, that I'll read out at the end of the video. But still, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2, the rematch. Looking forward to it. I really am. It's going to be a great one. Massive fight. Huge fight. I don't know how well it'll do in the pay-per-view, but I guess we can get to that afterwards. But I do believe, in my opinion, Conor McGregor is going to go out there and KO Dustin Poirier in the first round. However, this is not boxing. I understand that most definitely as an MMA fan. Dustin Poirier has a huge chance, and I wouldn't be surprised if the odds are somewhat skewed unrealistically in favor of McGregor here than they should be. I reckon McGregor should not be more than a 2-1 favorite in my opinion. This is a real close fight. Dustin Poirier has every chance to survive the early onslaught and come back and make something happen in those later rounds, but that's where I think he has to make stuff happen. In those later rounds is where Dustin Poirier is going to have some chances, but still, I don't even know about that. Okay, I really don't even know about that, because all of these times people question Conor McGregor's cardio. He went 5 rounds with Nate Diaz. He did better than Dustin Poirier against Khabib Nurmagomedov, let's just be real, and he didn't gas out as much as Dustin Poirier. I mean, Conor McGregor got caught in a bad position. Dustin Poirier got mauled to exhaustion and then gave up his neck. But in the 3rd round against Khabib, Conor McGregor was doing real well on the feet against Khabib and even won that round. Did even better than Justin Gaethje, who completely gassed out after Khabib put a mauling on him and even just put a little bit of pressure on him. Justin Gaethje gassed out real quick, so I think it's time to stop doubting Conor McGregor's cardio. I like his chances in this fight. I even like his chances in the later rounds, but I feel like his most deadly rounds, of course, are going to be the first 2, and I think that's where he's going to do some work. I believe Conor McGregor is going to KO Dustin Poirier in the first round. And it's not from disrespect to Poirier. Okay, I can think that Ngannou versus Blades is 60-40 Ngannou, but still predict Ngannou to KO him within the first 10 seconds. Like, that's just sometimes how the sport works style-wise. I feel like McGregor's going to go straight at him as soon as the bell sounds, like he did against Donald Cerrone, and just smash him straight away while he's getting warmed up, while every other fighter has that feeling out period that Conor McGregor just doesn't have. He's not much of a feeling out kind of guy. He'll just... I assume he's one of the guys that train... I just spat everywhere. That's how excited I am about this fight. But I assume he's one of those guys that just trains backstage full force and comes out like he's already had a fight, like Jeremy Stephens does, where he just goes to basically war backstage. Because you remember all those footages of him just beating up Artem Lobov backstage? I know Uriah Faber was talking about it as well, just seeing Conor McGregor beat up Artem Lobov backstage before the fights. I mean, Artem Lobov might have paid more... Artem Lobov might have contributed more to Conor McGregor's legacy than Conor McGregor, because no one is a better punching bag for Conor McGregor, and that's why he is the GOAT, of course. Conor McGregor, I believe, is going to go out there and KO Poirier in the first round, and Poirier is a dangerous man, and I think if Conor McGregor wins this one, definitely got to give him the title shot versus Khabib. I mean, I know that Khabib is probably going to be like, no, you must do one more, and then do it at bantamweight, and then just find some way to make McGregor pay immensely and probably die on his way to getting a rematch with Khabib, because Khabib does not like him, does not want to give him the opportunity. And I'm sure if Ferguson beats someone before then, Khabib would look at Ferguson. But then again, Khabib in his camp don't really talk about Tony Ferguson too much. I wouldn't even be surprised if Chandler beats Gaethje. They'll go for Michael Chandler, because that's what Khabib's been talking about recently, rather than Conor McGregor and Tony Ferguson. But still, I do want to say that if he has won this one, that's kind of like Whittaker getting his opportunity. I know Conor McGregor wasn't a defending champion, but then again, so neither was Robert Whittaker, you know? And he got the belt while moving up. He lost the belt to... I know he defended against Yoel Romero, of course, the second time, but he was an interim belt holder. He didn't officially take it off GSP. He defended against Yoel Romero, and that was a bit controversial, but I thought it could have been a draw. I don't mind that it went to Whittaker, but it could have been a draw. I definitely think it should have been a draw between Whittaker and Romero in the rematch, but still, it's kind of a similar situation. Once a champion loses their belt and then beats 2 top contenders back-to-back, no matter where Donald Cerrone is ranked now, he was ranked number 5. And Conor McGregor beat him by KO in the first round, or he might have been ranked number 6 or something, but now he's taking on Dustin Poirier, who's the top guy, who beat Justin Gaethje, who beat Tony Ferguson. Gaethje did anyway. I feel like if McGregor beats Poirier, he jumps straight to the top of the pile and gets a title shot against Khabib in a rematch. That's what I want to see as well. I want to see a more active McGregor take on Khabib, because as much as people say that there's no chance McGregor beats Khabib, that's just not what I took away from the first fight. I took away from the first fight that Conor McGregor lost to Khabib. Conor McGregor 6 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times probably loses to Khabib. But those 3 out of 10 times are going to be a whole lot more dangerous for Khabib if Conor McGregor comes in a little bit more active with some fights behind him and a little bit of momentum as well, and also a confidence builder, because let's not forget the amount of time he was out of the cage before the Khabib fight. 2 years out of the cage, then he comes back a year and 4 months later against Donald Cerrone, and there was all questions about that then, about his inactivity, and now he's coming back even sooner, but still a year away against Dustin Poirier. There's been a year's gap this time, so I actually feel like he's got more of an advantage here than he has in previous fights, just due to being slightly more active. Now, it's still a year, but it's not a year and a half nearly, or 2 years, so this is relatively good for Conor McGregor, I feel like. I just know that he's going to get the job done. I don't want to disrespect Dustin Poirier. I know he has a good chance. I think this is 70-30 McGregor, maybe 65-35. I don't know, maybe. Maybe we'll go 65-35 Conor McGregor. I think he's got a great chance in doing it. Great matchup for him, and I just think Dustin Poirier is going to need that feeling out period. And I'll tell you this, if Dan Hooker's landing 30 or so punches on you in the first round, and then 40 or so in the second, you know what I mean? Yeah, and you've taken that damage in the Dan Hooker fight now, and you took the damage against Khabib as well. People forget that Dustin Poirier got rocked in that second round. I know he rocked Khabib a little bit more than he got rocked, but still he got staggered by Khabib's check hook in that fight. I know McGregor got hooked by Khabib and dropped in that fight. Not technically, but it was basically a dropping in that fight. But Dustin Poirier's taken a lot of damage since their first time. I know this is at 55 now, but he's still been KO'd by Michael Johnson. He's had his war with Justin Gaethje. He's had his 2 wars with Eddie Alvarez. The first one, he was in trouble in that fight before it was over as well, even though it was an illegal knee. He did get rocked and kind of hurt real bad against Alvarez in that first one. He got hurt against Max Holloway as well. He got hurt against Dan Hooker real bad at the end of the second round. Got basically saved by the bell there, even though he did come back in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I just know that Poirier's taken a little bit too much damage. And McGregor, other than the second round against Khabib, has taken no damage over the past few years. So a motivated McGregor, in my opinion, coming in here. Plus, he's been trying to fight all year. And if you're trying to fight and you're having negotiations for fight contracts all year, but they just keep falling through, you're probably in the gym training quite hard, because he's been supposed to jump back in there many times already throughout this year so far. I reckon he's been in shape the whole time. He looks in good shape as well. He shaved his head. I don't even know what that means. But, or works for Ortega. Works for Ortega, I guess you can say. And we'll see if it works for Tony Ferguson. But that's what we'll talk about next. Tony Ferguson just mentioned his name. What does this mean for the rest of the lightweight division? I feel like now we know Khabib is still in the mix. McGregor versus Khabib 2 probably will happen if he wins this one. And if Poirier wins, then Poirier's beat Gaethje's beat Ferguson. So I feel like the odd men out right now are Gaethje and Ferguson. But also, rightfully so. Rightfully so. The winner of McGregor versus Poirier will be on a 2-fight winning streak. Maybe even before, depending on when they get back in there, maybe even before either of Gaethje or Ferguson get a win. Okay? So that's a real big deal. Okay? I don't think you can give someone a title shot coming off a loss, especially now that we know that it's not for a vacant belt even. Khabib's still in there and he just beat Gaethje and Gaethje just beat Ferguson. Like, I feel like right now what they're probably going to do, seeing as Michael Chandler turned down Tony Ferguson, there's no other explanation other than he's definitely taking on Gaethje next. I mean, I'm just going to put that one out there. There's no other explanation other than that. And I feel like it's a good storyline as well. Gaethje was the guy who built his reputation outside of the UFC at World Series of Fighting in a regional show. Not a regional show, but a big promotion. But just not as big as the UFC. Built his name over there. Then came in and jumped straight to the top of the division at lightweight. Chandler's doing exactly the same thing, but he came up at Bellator rather than World Series of Fighting. Then jumped straight into the UFC against top competition, and it's Gaethje. That'll be a perfect storyline in my opinion, so I think they should do Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje. Tony Ferguson should take on Dan, the Hangman Hooker. I think that would be an amazing fight. I know Nate Diaz Hooker was supposed to be happening, but I don't think that he was even calling out Dan Hooker. He might have been, but I think what he might have been doing even more was just discrediting the welterweight championship and trying to get at Gilbert Burns. I don't think there was ever going to be a fight between Dan Hooker and Nate Diaz. I wanted it to happen. I just never saw it happening. I don't see Nate Diaz coming down to 155, and I never saw Dan Hooker moving back up to 170 because he's still got so much unfinished business in the 155-pound division, including a fight with Tony Ferguson, which I believe needs to be made. If they don't make it in December, which is where Ferguson wants it, do it in February. Do it as a fight night headliner. Ferguson needs 5 rounds, in my opinion, to win that fight versus Dan Hooker, or at least have a much bigger chance. Make that happen for 5 rounds. Gaethje versus Chandler's a good fight. Let's look through the rest of the division. Paul Felder, of course. I think he should take on Ally Quinta. Maybe even on this card. Who knows? Maybe on the next card, February, something like that. Or again, co-main event of a fight night. There's great fights to make in the lightweight division, including as well Rafael Dos Anjos versus Charles Oliveira. Headliner of a fight night. Easy. Don't even have to pay me for these ideas. They make themselves. Remove 1 non-English speaker from the division out of 2? Yes, please. Oliveira and Rafael Dos Anjos, smash them up together. Paul Felder versus Ally Quinta. As I said, Diego Ferreira versus Benil Dariush. Let's get interesting. Or Islam Makhachev versus Diego Ferreira. Benil Dariush versus Drew Dober rematch. Could happen. I know, actually no, Diego Ferreira's fighting Drew Dober already. Let's do Diego Ferreira versus Drew Dober because it's already happening and I don't have control over it. And do Islam Makhachev versus Benil Dariush. Also Gregor Gillespie. When are you going to fucking do something, okay? Because we need to see you again. How about we do Gregor Gillespie versus Bobby Green? Then maybe Kevin Lee versus a loser of an upcoming bout that's going to happen real soon. Maybe Diego Ferreira, Drew Dober if it's Ferreira. Or something along those lines. We'll see what goes down. Kevin Lee needs to fight his fucking tattooist next. But still, he's got a lot of stuff to get through, Kevin Lee, including some mental reconfiguration, I think it's fair to say, after those decision-making skills, but still, looking forward to this one between Poirier and McGregor, and I have a card as well, UFC 257. I've worked very tirelessly. I'm joking, I haven't. Obviously, some of them have been announced already, but still, I like the card that I've made so far. Let me know what you guys think about it. I've got Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2 as the main event of UFC 257. The co-main event will be Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. That would be ideal as well as a co-main event. Would add to the pay-per-view sales in my opinion and also build a future fight between them. Let me just get a little bit more intimate before the end of the video. Show you guys a little bit more shoulder, you know what I'm saying? Don't want to be a slut or anything, but you know. Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler would also be an amazing fight to add to the card. Amanda Ribas versus Michelle Waterson, feature fight of the card. Already signed as well, so I can't really do fuck all about that being on the main card, but it's there. Jimmy Crute versus Ed Herman. Also an amazing fight to add to the main card. And Vicente Luque versus Michael Chiesa to kick off the main card. What more is there not to like about that? You boost all of these guys' profiles by having McGregor around. And I don't want them to do this, but I feel like they always will. They always downgrade McGregor cards because they know McGregor will carry the card and they don't want to give him negotiation power by having him sell a whole bunch of pay-per-views and ask for more money. So they downgrade his card to lower his possible... I don't even know why, but still, they always end up making shit McGregor cards when he's the main event. But still, Nasrat Haqparast versus Arman Tsarukyan. Already signed as the main event of the prelims, I have it as. Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Brad Tavares as the co-main. Johan Calderwood versus Jessica Ayers apparently on the main card. I say, fuck that shit. That's going on the prelims. No one's buying it for that fucking fight. Remove it. It's on the prelims. Ottoman Izatar versus Matt Frevola also to open up the prelims. And then as the early prelims, from headliner down to the opening fight, Gunnar Nelson versus Anthony Rocco Martin. Let's bring Gunnar Nelson back. McGregor's coming back. Let's bring Gunnar back in there. You know, it only makes sense. William Knight versus Danilo Marquez and Damon Jackson versus Darek Minner. Good card overall. I should really get paid for that kind of shit, but still. Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2. No, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2. That's also what I want to talk about just a second here, and I've got something else on my mind. I need to get this off my fucking mind, okay? A lot of people are talking about, why is Conor McGregor's name first? I just seen this on UFC news alerts. He beat him. That's just how it works, no? I've always assumed that. Like, David Haye was still the A side when Tony Bellew beat him the first time. But Tony Bellew takes the A spot. It was Bellew versus Haye, wasn't it, in the rematch? But okay, all good. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2. Apparently it's going to be Poirier versus McGregor because someone said that's what it is on a poster or something like that, which is just wrong in my opinion. I know Dustin Poirier is higher ranked than him in the lightweight division, But this is a rematch where McGregor was the winner, and Poirier doesn't have a belt. Like, if Poirier was the champion, I'd understand him being the A side, but still, McGregor's the much bigger name, so I think McGregor versus Poirier's fine. He beat him, so I don't know why there's a problem with that for some people, but still, people are saying Vegas or Fight Island. It's happening on Fight Island, Abu Dhabi. Looking forward to it on Abu Dhabi as well, but I don't know if there'll be a crowd or not. However, Dana White did say that he feels that Abu Dhabi will be the first place to have a crowd. So read into that what you will, that he's now booked Conor McGregor there when he could have done it in Vegas and risked, I mean, we'll see what happens with the election in America, because things might never be opening up. But still, looking forward to it. I think it'll be in Abu Dhabi with fans. We'll see how it goes. And if it is in Abu Dhabi, oh my God, genius play by McGregor. Want to lure out Khabib, call him out in front of his team, basically. I don't want to say home crowd, but like, there is boys over there. You know what I mean? So call him out in front of the Abu Dhabi crowd. That's one way to get Khabib. And Khabib might even be in the audience. We're going to break pay-per-view records. Like and subscribe. Oh, pay-per-view wise, this won't do that well. I reckon it'll do Masvidal Usman numbers. It ain't doing the Alvarez McGregor numbers, because the casual fans, not the casual fans, I hate saying the word casual fans, but the normal people out there, you know, that aren't sitting at their computer screen studying statistics and watching all the rankings outside of them and know all the rankings off by heart, and basically nerds for the sport. I want to say the normal people out there, I don't think they'll buy this one, because inherently, people who aren't UFC fans know of combat sports and just know that, boxers, it's, if it isn't for a belt, the superstar wins. Basically, that's how boxing works. If it isn't for the belt, the superstar's going to win. And if there's a fight in the way, like some people who are familiar with boxing that don't know too much about UFC are going to hear about this fight and go, one more until the Khabib rematch. Like, this is not Tyson Fury versus fucking Otto Wallin. You know what I mean? That ended up being a tough fight. Hopefully this is not that, because I want McGregor to win. It's for the best of the division. But still, McGregor versus Poirier, good fight. I just feel like people might not give Poirier the credit he deserves. Like, I was watching ESPN Hot Takes, and this was an amazing hot take. They were talking about how McGregor struggled with jiu-jitsu and Dustin Poirier is a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like, Poirier's going to go out there and just do nothing but grapple with him. Don't see it happening. I see McGregor running across the cage, lighting him up in the first round. No disrespect. I just think if you're not Khabib, and even Khabib could barely keep McGregor down. People disrespect McGregor. That performance against Khabib, in hindsight, against Khabib, compared to how Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje looked, you got to give him some credit. I'm going to give McGregor the first round KO. Thank you for watching the video. Click that button up there. And goodbye. Toodle pip.